Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. There's a reality that I have to deal with every single day, and that's I'm not getting any younger. I mean, my mirror tells me that, the video screen tells me that. But you know something? There's a little bit of, a quantum of solace that I have because there's something else that's aging over time, and that is the James Bond franchise, the James Bond films. After over 60 years, they're not getting any younger. And I started thinking about this whole aging of the films and the franchise the other day and asking a very simple question. Are they aging well? Are they aging like fine wine or are they going off like vinegar? Now, I could answer the question myself, but that's not as much fun as inviting an assassin group of high thinking, very accomplished individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, you know them, you love them, hell, you even demand them. It is the shooting gallery is back and they're better than ever. It is Luke. It is Logan. It is Bobby. And listen, what would the shooting gallery be without Mr. Lorenzo? How you doing,
I
gents?
feel like you're going to swear on this.
Hey, David.
It might happen.
First of all, I refuse to swear on my channel. It is a family-oriented place filled with loving individuals that are
What do you got
positive.
Lorenzo and I here for then, guy?
I mean, I do have a 7-second button. That
We'll
does
keep
not
it
work.
1T.
Gentlemen, let's do this thing. I mean, listen, you all look great. You're aging well. I'm trying to do my part as I drink a hefty Guinness. We all have a drink, by the way, which prematurely ages you. Oh, nice. A lot of amber liquids. Luke has nothing but mama's milk. What do you got? Oh, you got a
Water.
Stanley cup.
Yep.
So here's the deal, gents. I'd like to go around. We're going to set the table very nicely. I want to get your general opinion. We'll start off big and we'll get very specific on Bond being over 60 years old as a franchise. So we're not going to do individual films, but as a franchise, has it aged well? And I'll start off by saying some people say that the Bond franchise has aged well because they have this thing called the reinvention model. What is that? Reinvention could be something as simple as different actors, Sean Connery, Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, Daniel Craig, Timothy Dalton, but it could be as simple as a reinvention of the cultural and timely moments that they're being filmed and published. So a general question, and I'm going to take a volunteer because I usually call on people and they look at me like, you didn't give me any time. Oh, Bobby.
I got you, David. I got you.
Hit me up, man.
I'm going to give maybe a on the fence answer. I think aspects have aged well. I think aspects have aged poorly. I think certainly the sartorial aspects have aged very well. I think you could take a lot of the suits that George or Sean are wearing and maybe make some minor tweaks. I'd reference probably Matt Spacer is better qualified to say than I am. But there's some minor tweaks. I think that would still play today. I think maybe some of the attitudes are antiquated. Maybe some of the interactions are frowned upon, but I think you don't have a franchise that's 60 plus years old because it stops resonating. And I think Bond is a unique animal in the world of modern cinema, that it's not just a formula that you plug things into. It is an event. And that is something that continues to resonate. And to me, that's a very unique thing. You have a through line over the last 60 years that's multi-generational that continues to resonate. So I think of course it has aged well. If it had not aged well, we wouldn't be talking about this and looking forward to the next installment like we all are. So I think it has aged better in most ways than it has aged poorly.
I think you've set a nice template for the rest of us, because I would like everybody to address, and I'll address it too, something called the through line, which is what are the things that have not changed that much, but we don't want them to change that much. Like the whole idea of not changing is part of how it's aged well. For example, I'll give one, practical effects. Real stunts from the very beginning seem to keep going, even as lately as No Time to Die. You'll have a little CGI tweaking here and there, but they lean heavily on the fact of real and practical events. well, we're in the 20th anniversary. Look at the parkour sequence of Casino Royale. More impressive than anything that I've seen in the last few years. That ages extremely well. Logan, what's your opinion? How are we aging out there as a franchise?
I think aging quite well, and I think one of the big reasons for that is these movies are there's enough space in between them to have a lot of thought put into the process, and these are when these films are made in their individual eras, they are the best product of cinema at the time in terms of quality of set production, special effects, music. The teams that they assemble for each one of these crews is putting forth the highest quality film that you're going to get in that year for the genre. That maybe something that's not an art piece. Although I think Skyfall, Quantum of Solace, you could make arguments that those were parts of those films were bordering on art films. But I think the quality is what makes these films age well.
I think that's true. It's, by the way, it's got to be difficult for the filmmakers. To your point, Logan, the bar is so high that we are expecting a better quality. I heard somebody the other day, it was a great argument. I didn't even have to get involved. Say you can't compare Mission Impossible with James Bond because James Bond is of a different quality. You're going to get a certain sartorial aspect. He's a classier character, but the films have a sumptuousness to it. So even beyond storyline, these standalone stories. And by the way, I will throw another one in to add to what Logan and Bobby just said. The one thing that I think has aged very well is Bond continues to be and serve up stories that stand alone, that you don't need a cinematic universe knowledge. Yeah. When I watch a new Marvel film or a new Star Wars film, if I didn't see the Clone Wars, I may be lost. Or the Mandalorian, I may be lost. Or the last Spider-Man movie, I may be lost. Bond should be and has been these individual missions that kind of stand on their own. Good point. Luke, what's your opinion? Are you seeing the crow's feet on the franchise?
No, I agree with what everyone said. I think they age well, and I think the formula is why they age well. I don't think the formula is boring. I think the formula provides structure to the films, so to an extent what you're going to get, but I think that structure helps deliver a very luxurious, high, like Logan said, a very high quality product. So I think the Bond formula, that is a very, very specific thing in cinema, is what keeps it from aging poorly.
Nice. It's sort of the writing and the sartorial Botox keeps us as a franchise looking young. Fillers, if you will. Lorenzo, need your opinion on this, man, because you could be the dissenter. You could be like, I'm crying bullshit. I don't know.
I mean, for me, I feel like it's an ebb and flow kind of thing. Like there's times where, in certain eras, I feel like it fits that time, but it hasn't aged as well, and that's because us as a society have changed and grown. So, I mean, there are those little marks in there. I don't think that takes away from the cinematic experience of each film. It's just things are different now. So when you show it to like the next generation, or in my case, my kid, it's going to come across differently than it did for me or my dad before me. It's just, those are the things that make it interesting. But then that sparks more conversation of why has Bond survived? Well, Bond keeps recreating himself. Each go around, there's like a reset. There's certain ingredients that are always going to exist there. And I think that's what makes Bond so interesting and makes it continue and keeps it fresh, is that they don't lose sight of those certain aspects, but they are challenging the way it's filmed, or the technology that's involved, or the directors or the story writers. So I think it's a ebb and flow kind of thing.
What's aged really well to me, David, forgive me, is the globe-trotting aspect of it. And whether you're watching Dr. No and think, man, I want to go to Jamaica, or you're watching No Time to Die and think, oh, I want to go to Matera. Every film has a location that they showcase so well, like a travel log. And I think that's something that is unique to the franchise that has aged incredibly well. And I think that's one of, like Luke's saying, one of the elements to the Bond formula that is necessary to that. They're not shooting that on a green screen. They're shooting that in the location. I think we as film lovers and Bond lovers, I think that really resonates with us.
Which, by the way, is shocking because it should not have aged that well, because between social media, obviously what we can find online, but the fact that it is so much easier to travel now than in the 60s, but we still jaw drop when you see a place like Matera or Siena in Quantum of Solace, and we yearn to go there. And that is part of the Bond lifestyle of actually being in those locations. Like, to me, that has only increased. It hasn't dampened in any way, which means they are getting the formula right still. And I do feel pretty strongly that the best Bond films, the ones that are our favorites, the ones that do well at the blockbuster, they do have a foundation of the same tropes. And when they start to over tweak, like Casino Royale, you could say was a major tweak, but they didn't over tweak the essence of Bond. When they try to go over too much, they tend to get into some issues. But Lorenzo has unknowingly segued perfectly into the next level of hell. I mean, level of this discussion, which is, let's go from the franchise to individual movies, because he was being very sweet. And we had a lovely kumbaya moment in the first 8 minutes of this video. But we have to talk about moments in the Bond franchise, yes, films and moments, where maybe they didn't age that well. Like, there are some people that will talk about Moonraker feeling like a time capsule, or A View to a Kill looking the point of time, or even License to Kill looking very 80s. But I'd like to go around the shooting gallery, load up those bullets, because you're taking aim now at any particular movie you want that says, you know what, this movie, this moment, this portrayal of Bond, guys, it just didn't age that well. And this could be, by the way, you can get into the gender politics of things, or, man talk. This is the no holds barred shooting gallery moment. And Logan, you're going first.
Oh, I'm up first. I'm up first. I think I love Dr. No. It's one of my favorite movies. But it does have some issues with racial insensitivity. And it always bothers me. I cringe, when Bond says, fetch my shoes. It's a tough moment to watch, to be honest. And it's honestly one that, I wouldn't want to have to explain or watch with my daughter. Thankfully, I think we've moved past that. But that was very much something that would fly in the early 60s, but would not fly now.
Yeah. And by the way, in all fairness, when Luke does stay over our house, he does tell me to fetch his shoes. So it's not just quarrel. It's he's an equal
over my knee
offender, is what he is. Just saying. No, but that's a great point. There are the kind of like cringy moments that, I again, more transparency. There was a long time where I used to defend the Bond films and even the novels and say, oh, they're just moments in time. That's just how people talked, and they're capsules. But I've heard from a lot of people who were living at that time that that's actually not how a lot of people talk. So yeah, and they're all put through the filter of our expectations. One person's of being offensive may be another person's elixir. You just don't know, but it is an important thing to point out. Bobby, you got one for us? Something that has not aged well?
I think a lot of the film of Live and Let Die, with the blaxploitation of that time, I don't think that has aged well, at all. And I echo what Logan says. I like Dr. No, and I think there are moments in that, or the man talk, but it's tough to say that a film looks too 80s when it was shot in the 80s. I mean, I don't know how else you're supposed to shoot that, so I think there is some truth that these are a capsule of what was going on in that time. And I don't think Harry and Cubby had the thought when they're shooting these movies that, hey, 60 years from now, people are going to reflect back and these are like the bedrock foundations of something we're building. I think they were shooting a movie. I think, Fleming was happy to have that produced, and let's see what happens. I think it's somewhat easy to take pot shots in retrospect over a franchise that's 60 years old. There are going to be some things that don't age particularly well. I mean, my goodness, we've got 20 plus films to look at and multiple decades to look at. There are going to be some things that are pretty cringy, but I stand by my earlier statement. If these had aged more poorly than not, we wouldn't be looking forward to another film. So I think there are elements that age better than others. I think like that globetrotting aspect has aged well, and I think presenting yourself has aged well, and I think the attitudes change with the times, but Bond stays steadfast, and I think that's one of the things that I gravitate towards.
And Bobby, I'll even swing the pendulum the other way. Some of the older films, I think we should revisit because the pacing, for example, in some new films today, I'm not saying the Bond films necessarily, but some films in general, is so fast paced. You just don't have a breath to really take it all in and be in the moment, immerse yourself into the film. And I think that was so special. Like You Only Live Twice. You really do feel like you're immersed. And yes, there are some moments, they're sponging him yellow and putting eyelids on. I get it. Has not aged well. But
right.
If you look at the times that you can breathe within that movie and exist within it, they don't do that as well anymore.
It's the way they weave it in. I know Mission Impossible is a comparison that comes up all the time, but you think in No Time to Die, like that motorcycle jump going into Matera, it's like, I remember seeing that in the trailer, just like blown away. It's like, wow, look at that. And you contrast that, as impressive as it is, and it is impressive with Tom Cruise jumping off the cliff and parachuting. There's no like geographical context to that. It doesn't matter. That's the spectacle of a cool stunt, where with the Bond, not only is it a cool stunt, it's coupled with you are wedded to that location and wedded to what's going on with that story. And that's magic. That's what's different.
I love that. Lorenzo, I know you got one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little lighter on this. So I'm gonna stray away from the racial stuff. So for me, it's the technology. Like I struggle with, and there's nothing you can do about it. I understand that. It's just a timestamp of the films. But I look at Casino Royale and I see the cell phones, and I think in my head, I'm like, oh wow, this really like harkens back to that time, of T9 texting and stuff like that. So it's, that's just part of it. I get it, or like the digital watches. So you got to kind of take the good with the bad. So, but for me, that's something that dates the film, and that's going to continue to happen because if you got to have technology in the film that Bond uses and stuff. So it doesn't bother me. I just find it interesting. It's something that kind of puts the film in its categorically, decade of time. And I think it's kind of charming, honestly.
It's a timestamp. I find that it's slightly more highlighted by younger viewers. And the reason I say that is just the other day I watched, and it's a video that we recorded, Tomorrow Never Dies, with my niece, Marissa, who is just 30 years old, and she had never seen it before. So I was really excited. And she, by the way, there's a spoiler alert, but she loved it. But the one thing she started laughing is when they were over explaining what a GPS tracking system is. And her whole life has been, well, of course there's a GPS. My great-great-grandmother uses a GPS. But it is moments like that I think are interesting. Even the pager from Russia with Love, he gets a pager and they're looking at this like giant meatloaf of a thing that's kind of hanging out there. And a pager was so unique back then. But I think that's almost charming, to your point. It's a stamp. And Bobby, you were kind of hinting towards this too, but it's like, what do you expect? And I'm not saying that in counter to what you're saying, but it's almost fascinating to go back and relook at that. Luke, do you have one in the chamber, so to speak?
I do, yeah. So I'm kind of going to piggyback a little bit off of what Bobby said with something being 280s or 270s. I agree with that completely. They're not making those movies at that time thinking, how is this going to age? But I think when you look back at something like License to Kill or Moonraker, they may not have aged well because it's like, well, let's make this to compete with Star Wars. Let's make this to compete with Scarface. It's kind of like you did something because it seemed like it was of the time, but you didn't do it quite as well. So then when you watch it now, you're like, okay, so this is kind of like, space, like kind of trying to be like Star Wars, but not as good. You know what I mean? It's like this one's kind of trying to be like Scarface, but a little dissimilar. That's when I think that they might not age well.
That's an interesting one. And yeah, it sort of begs the question too, when you're looking at comparisons, the one thing, and by the way, anybody can jump in and give this opinion. Cold War context in the earlier Bond films was pretty prevalent because of what was happening in politics. We knew, what does Mathis say? The bad guys, it was black and white. It was very obvious. Now it's a little bit more muddled. Is the Cold War context now, when we go back, especially with people that are just picking up James Bond, do you think that it's lost on the younger audiences, or does it not matter? Like, bad is bad and good is good.
I think it'd probably be lost. Younger people nowadays, I'm sure it's probably lost. I mean, obviously it wasn't something I lived through, but it was what a lot of the movies had to do with. It seemed like a lot of the movies, it was, USSR or Russia or whatever. This was always the villain. And it kind of, I think the realistic side of it, like it being a big chunk of real history, I think it definitely falls to the wayside with the younger generation, but I don't think it aged poorly because it was hyper realistic for a long time.
I think we live in the age of the anti-hero, where we want characters who are shades of gray. Don Draper, Tony Soprano. We want that, and so much content that we're getting right now is Breaking Bad. It's like is this guy, he's doing bad things, he's doing it for the right reason, right? And the Bond movies were in the 60s and early 70s. It was very different. It was, we got good guys and we got bad guys, and I'm going to go stop them. But I think where we are as a society now. Yeah.
Could that get back to some of the things that make it age extremely well, that plumps up the skin, is that we haven't lost the fact that we love fallible characters because we are fallible. Like I still do love Superman, but I'm much more critical about Superman now. And I sure as hell know I will not be Superman. But there are moments of James Bond I can be. I could be despicable. I could be wonderful. I could be virtuous. I could have vices, and still be heroic and still feel like the good guy. That is very unique in the world of characters and heroes. And I think that continues. And as much as I give No Time to Die a lot of grief, the last act, as problematic as it is, and it is, boy, I'm really coming down on it, is it's still a heroic character that is still fallible at the same time. Yeah. Guys, talk to me about the future. And by the way, I want my audience to understand something. When I set up the shooting gallery, it is like a John Wick episode where I put out an assassin's notice and they come running. Does this time work for you? And Lorenzo breaks all the speed laws to get home because of the time difference. But more importantly, I give them very general subjects. We're going to talk about this. Luke takes copious notes. Bobby's just good on his feet. Like, they all come with different skill sets, but I always throw a zinger at them. Here is that zinger in this conversation. Guys, we got a new movie coming out. I don't know if you heard, probably in the next couple years. When we think about what makes Bond fresh, that doesn't age them, that, it's like the SPF when you go out to the sun, it protects them. What are those different aspects of a James Bond movie that you will absolutely say to Amazon, Do not mess with them. This is what keeps them young and fruitful. And we've got a hand raised up. Logan, you're on.
The music's got to be right. The
Love it.
music has such an important role in this film franchise. It sets the tone for almost anything. Don't mess that one up.
What does
I
that
agree with
mean,
that.
though? Tell me about don't mess that. Give me some more. Like, what do you mean don't mess it up? Like, don't be too experimental. Don't do a golden eye. What are we saying?
Yeah, that's a little subjective, isn't it?
That's what we're about.
Yeah, I think so. I very much appreciate the more classic sounds of orchestration. So GoldenEye is admittedly not one of my favorite scores. I think that, but even in GoldenEye, you get moments of sneaky sounds. You know,
Helps tell the story.
yeah, it really pushes the story along, and I feel like. While there are some scores that are not my favorite, I think they all do a really great job encapsulating the movie. You can listen to those scores without watching the film and feel like you are in it. They got to nail the music.
Logan, with music, you have shot from the hip and you've hit your target dead square. Good job. What about the other three guys in the shooting gallery? What do you got?
I'll jump in. I tell you what, we need, building off what Logan said, we need a really, really strong pre-title sequence. That's an element that's a non-negotiable for me. And for me, I would please, Amazon, we need some snow skiing. Who would love to see Bond on some snow skis again? Like, it's been too long. We need Bond
back
on
at
the
the
slopes.
lodge.
Yeah, right. We need somebody. We need some skiing. I also think that the title sequence itself is a Bond element. You know you are watching a Bond film when you have a beautiful title sequence that's well thought out. And then you watch the film and you go back and it's like, oh, they referenced that in the title sequence. Fantastic. The other thing, please keep the gun barrel at the beginning. Don't mess with that. Gun barrel at the beginning, must.
Bobby, like I did with Logan, I want to pressure test your pre-title sequence. I agree with you, but in the beginning, when Bond franchise first began, the pre-title sequences didn't always have a connection to the main film. Later on, certainly with Daniel Craig, they did. They fed into the story. Which version do you want?
I'm okay if it's a mini movie in and of itself. It's like you get a mini Bond adventure at the beginning. It's like, you want to see Sylvia Trench? Have at it. Go for it. And then we're in M's office and we go on to the main thing. I think it would be really cool if we went back to that personally.
I love that.
I'm just thinking 3 blind mice.
Yeah. In a row?
No, it's not. Don't do that to me. No, it's not.
I'll edit that out. I'll forget that.
It's not. It's
By the
not.
way, is it at this point in this particular video that Kyle would have bailed out, or is Kyle still watching?
Couldn't tell you.
Nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Couldn't tell you.
Luke, you got one for us?
Yeah, I would
What
say
is
just
Amazon, what shouldn't they mess with?
the tropes. We need the tropes. See, it's something like the DB5. I'm good if the DB5's done it. We've seen that a lot. But we need M, we need Q, we need a gadget here and there. We need, the seriousness with the quick wit. We need the jokes. I like the kind of darker turn they took with Craig, but you still need to kind of lighten it up here and there. So kind of, once again, the Bond formula with the tropes, you just can't get rid of it.
So I want to get this on record. You do not want a Casino Royale.
Casino Royale is incredible. It
Yes,
really, really is. But
that's not what you're looking for.
I don't think they could do that again. I don't think they can do it twice.
I happen to agree that it would be a calculated mistake if Amazon tries to go too far over from a reinvention standpoint, as opposed to prove that they could do a really great and honorable James Bond movie.
Yeah. I mean, they went hyper realistic. They went all out with introducing the new actor. They, he earned the 00 status. So it's understandable that it's like him and M and that's it. But you can't do that again. You know what I mean? It's not like they did that in the 60s And then in the early 2000s, they just did it. So you can't do it again, in my
It's too
opinion.
cute. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, it's been very interesting. So folks, everybody needs to realize that we are human beings. So we film a lot of these videos all in one sitting because I don't know, they have a life. But one of the things that Bobby asked me was during one of the breaks is, hey, you know, what's happening this year? You know, it seems like there's a lot that's going to be percolating. It's been very interesting for me to watch the Bond franchise in an announcement of an audiobook resuscitating a young Bond book that's even younger than the teenage, a Bond game that talks about a younger Bond. And clearly the movie is going to be about a Bond probably in his 30s to 38, you know, somewhere within there. What I'm finding very interesting is they're trying to cover all their bases. You know, they've got a lot of different mediums, but they've got a lot of different age groups that they're serving up. And I think that's a part of keeping Bond young, is to really appeal to a lot of different people and backgrounds. And Lorenzo, you've had ample time. So yours is going to be the best one. I just know it.
It's funny because everyone was giving theirs, and I'm like, damn it, damn it. Like every point I was focusing on, you know.
That's been happening to me all night.
I will
I know the
tell you, I did
Aw.
land on the one that I was like, okay, this is what I'm going with. I'm gonna die on this hill. I really need Bond to be established and not break any rules and just be 007 in this next film.
Yes.
Oh,
I need Bond to get the mission and complete the mission. I
no
don't need any
rogue agent.
rogues. No, I'm retiring. No,
Yeah.
I'm done. I've been shot. None of that shit. I need to be James Bond doing his job. That's what I need. I need that bad.
I like it.
To add
Good one.
another twist on that, I would really love if they used this formula from the Batman. Let's see Bond 2 years after being a 00, 3 years after being a 00, established, understanding who he is at this point. Don't need reintroduction to the side characters. Have them involved, have them appear in a nice, elegant way in the film and be a part of that. People know who they are at this point. I don't want a reintroduction of them.
I have a pitch just for you, Lorenzo. Everybody
Okay.
else can listen in. You don't have to dial out. I have a pitch, and I've thought about this a lot, but I thought it'd be really cool for Amazon to do as the pre-title sequence a montage of 6 to 7 missions, very quickly though, like moments in 6 to 7 missions leading to his 2 to 3 year anniversary. Like these were the key missions. They don't have relevance to the rest of the film, but it shows the foundation of Bond being Bond without having to go back to like a Casino Royale, which is almost exactly what you're talking about. Let's have an established Bond that's 3 or 4 years into it. They know him. MI6 knows him. He knows them. He's not this newbie wet behind the ears. He's not learning to be Bond. He is Bond. And you see this, it could be something as simple as an 11-minute opening that shows these mini missions all coming together as an arc. You could do it so stylistically. I could see Denis Villeneuve like serving it up really well. That's my pitch. What do you think?
I like it.
I like
Yeah.
it.
I like what Lorenzo said. We need like Anakin episode 3, not episode 2.
Yeah. Yes.
We don't
Wait,
want
which one was that? Remind me.
episode
Was that the
3
one where
was
he kills
just like
Tusken Raiders?
that's episode 2.
Two.
Episode 2 is like an angsty teenager. Episode 3 is like the best Jedi on the planet.
I'm slaying Padme and I'm slaying freaking
Is that when he kills those 2 worms in Padme's apartment? Is that the one?
That's 2.
That's
That's still true.
It's the one where he gets married, David, and then he like goes and fights Obi-Wan.
And he falls into a volcano.
I'll go on a tangent, but it will work. Episode 2, just even the lightsaber like stunts, the lightsaber choreography from 2 to 3, you can tell like this is a master of his craft. Like Lorenzo said, like they did with Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah.
Like, let's just bring him in the thick of it. He is extremely good at all of these things. He's not like learning, he's not fumbling around. Like he is the ultimate spy.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, it sort of goes back to kind of what we were saying about what keeps these things fresh and young. The practical effects, obviously, the skills that are shown, the storyline, the tropes. I mean, what gives me a lot of heart to all of this and makes me feel good about Amazon and what they're doing is it's all there. Like, we just peeled it apart in a few minutes. And, you know, we're not professionals at this. We're professional Bond fans, but that's about it. It's there if they want to take advantage of it. It's also there if they want to be very experimental with it and make it, you know, about geopolitics or something of its time. And what did Cubby Broccoli say? You know, we always keep Bond, what is it, 5 minutes into the future? I forget how many minutes he says, but right. We're not science fiction. We're science fact. I think if they keep on that winning formula, we'll all do well. Gentlemen, any last thoughts on the aging well of the franchise, the aging
I
bad?
just can't stop thinking of slaying Padme and slaying Ewan McGregor.
Oh, I missed that. I was talking over that. Oh, shit. Was that a Lorenzo?
Oh yeah. I have one other one is, and this is hard to even say because they're clearly not doing it on purpose, but they have a very uncanny way of making a film about something that all of a sudden becomes shockingly relevant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like No Time to Die was
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how they do it, but they just have to have this lucky streak, and I just hope that continues. I hope whatever it is comes out and we're like, wow, this is, God, that would be scary. And then, you know.
Do you think they'll go in the AI direction?
It's hard not to.
I mean, it seems like it's here, so.
Yeah.
Whatever direction they go, I hope you use the word the ultimate spy, Luke, or however you said it. I hope there's some spycraft in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know,
very from
Dr.
Russia
No,
with love.
Putting a hair across the door to see if it's open and things like that. I want to see him being a spy.
To keep the Star Wars realm going, I always loved in Bond the whole idea of kind of Ewoks versus stormtroopers, meaning Bond uses these older progressive things that are still working. You know, like you said, I think you were doing this, but you know, the hair on a closet to see if it's like, go back to the old ways, because I've always said this. I don't mind if things change around Bond. I don't want Bond to change.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Luke, Lorenzo, Logan, Bobby, we need to change your name because we got all these L's and then we've got B and D.
Yeah. Lobby.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't go change it to try to please me. Gentlemen, thank you so much. And as always, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you all real soon. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching the Bond Experience. If you like what you saw, why don't you subscribe to the channel by clicking this button right here. We'll keep you up on everything new that's happening in the world of Bond. And speaking of something new, here's something new just for you because we know you so well. Talk to you soon.